Welcome to the She Hit Refresh podcast, a podcast for women age 30 and up who are ready to fast track their move abroad. I'm your host, Seppi, rhymes with Peppy, coming to you from Malaga, Spain. And I first just want to give a big thank you to this season's sponsor, International Living, for making this podcast possible. So let's jump into today's episode. Today's guest is no stranger to the show. Hannah Dixon is back for her third appearance. So you may remember her from episode 8 in 2019 or episode 34 in 2021, where she opened up about hitting rock bottom after a breakup and a business burnout and how she came out the other side stronger than ever. Hannah is the founder of Digital Nomad Kit and the award-winning Virtual Excellence Academy, which has helped over 37,000 people launch thriving freelance careers through virtual work. And she didn't stop there. She is also the founder of Rainbow Remote, which we'll talk about today. So for the past 10 years, she has been helping aspiring virtual assistants, freelancers, and remote professionals not only build businesses, but build powerful lives. She is a total OG in the digital nomad scene, but now proudly calls Mexico home. So I actually met Hannah virtually back in 2017. Wow, that was a while ago. And I took her signature training, the free 5-day VA challenge. And y'all, it was a game changer. It helped me land my first remote job, which completely changed the trajectory of my career. So if you're looking to freelance, to pivot, or start working remotely, I highly recommend taking her free 5-day VA challenge. And you're in luck because the next one kicks off on April 21st and runs through the 25th. So don't miss it. You can head to our website, shehitrefresh.com/VA challenge to sign up. So let's dive in. Hannah, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me again. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, we are excited. It has been a few years, so we're going to hear about what's going on in your life and also how you help people get into remote work. Let's take it from the top. At a high level, can you share, because I did mention that you're an OG digital nomad, like how did you start this location independent lifestyle?
Sure. Well, let's go way back. I've always liked to travel. It was something that was in my bones from a very young age. I grew up in the UK to an American mother, so I traveled back and forth across the Atlantic a lot. And I felt from a very young age that I was like destined to travel. But I didn't know how to do it, of course, and money and all those things that come into it. When I was a teenager, it was actually one of my teachers who said that I could use my passport to travel. And I didn't realize that. I was like 16 years old. So I did like an interrail trip around Europe, and that was it. I caught the bug. I was like, I want this to be my lifestyle. I didn't go to university. I left school and I started traveling, doing work exchanges. So working at farms, bars, hostels, even worked with husky dogs in Austria. And then at some point I needed to make money. I went back to the UK. I met somebody who worked online and I was like, ding, 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 you work online. That means you can work from anywhere. Put two and two together, teach me everything you know. And she very generously did. I started working online. We started a company together. And the rest of history, I've been traveling continuously for 18 years now. At the beginning, I did pop back to the UK a couple of times here and there for like, I'd get like a bar job for 2 months, take that money and run again. I'd say 16, like completely full time.
That is a long time, because I know for some people, remote work has really just become an option for them since the pandemic for people who are working office jobs. So this is something new, but you've been doing this since before it was really a trend or a thing. And I just want to mention, if anybody wants to hear more of Hannah's story in depth, please listen to one of our previous episodes. We do talk about her job hopping like me. She was a serial job hopper, right?
Yeah.
Who paved her own way. So we won't go too much into your story, but thank you for sharing that. But I do want to just reference our last episode when we talked to you. That was in 2021, and you had just come out of burnout and starting life again in a new way, because a lot of things had changed for you. And I'm just curious to know what has happened since 2021 to now, like what kind of changes have happened to you in your life? Because I'm sure a lot of things have transpired.
Huge changes. The pandemic, of course, naturally put us all into a state of change. But I think that time in lockdown was really good for me. I believe we touched on that before. But now that we're through it on the other side, and I was in Austria at the time, so there were a lot of lockdowns in Austria. That time was really good for me to focus on myself, my mental health, my business. I put more systems in place personally and professionally. I would say that If I'm really honest, I think I've still had bouts of burnout since. I think I'm coming out of like another little bout of that. But what's happened is that I've created so many systems now to support me through that time. And that's one of the things that I love about working for myself is that I could do that. I could design things in such a way that I can accommodate for these downtimes. So I think it was really just learning about how I work and how I operate, and that I'm not as much of an extrovert as I thought I was. I'm more of an ambivert. I need my time to myself. So giving myself that time. And I think the pandemic and that situation, I'd just come out of a pretty bad breakup, gave me that time and space to really think about where I was heading in life and what I've personally needed as an individual to thrive, really.
I'm so happy to hear that. And yeah, that you mentioned that you were in Austria. I'm just thinking back. I'm like, I recorded a podcast season like in 2021. Like it feels a little bit like a blur because it was just a weird time in our lifetime. And you left Austria. And I think, did you head to Mexico right after that? I don't remember.
I got married in the middle of a pandemic with no guests, with masks on behind plexiglass.
Wow.
I think it was pretty much the next day we headed over to Mexico because my case for getting residency in Austria didn't go through. Brexit was going through at that time. It was the transition period. And I didn't meet the criteria, apparently. I think they were homophobic, but that's a whole other thing. And the doors to Mexico were open. I was like, this is a place that my wife and I can be safely here, like legally here together. So we had friends here and we started house sitting in Mexico. We now rent a house, which is the first time I've rented a place in a very long time. So yeah, I've been in Mexico pretty much since. I've been traveling in and out, but I'm based here.
Oh, yes, because you guys had to find a place where you can live together because she's European, you're British American. So there's not a lot of overlap on how, if you can stay in any of those places long term. So Mexico was the solution then. Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm sure there's so many things have changed since you hit the road 16 years ago. But I guess how has your lifestyle changed since first becoming a digital nomad or being location independent versus your life today?
Well, money makes a difference. Like when I got started, it was very much budget travel, hostels, doing anything I could to make ends meet. Much more comfortable position now, of course, many years later. So I think the way that I experience travel is different. The types of places that I stay, the types of things I do, the places I eat out, a lot more than like getting groceries and stuff like that, which I should do more of. But so I guess I'm a bit more of a bougie traveler now, if I'm honest. I think also that I spend longer in places. Like I said, during the pandemic as well, something that I came to realize that I do better when I have a base. I have a base now. That's a huge one. That I stay longer in places. I'm able to work better as a human being, but also as a professional. And I would say that nowadays I have a few places around the world that I love to frequent where I have friends that I consider family now. I do like visiting new places, of course, but I really do like going back to my soul places where my people are. So I think that's really the main things.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Going from being a digital nomad to really enjoying the base, even though you're not there full time. I feel like the last 2 years I dabbled a little bit in, I don't even know if I want to call it digital nomadism. I don't know, these labels. But I was in Spain like 5 or 6 months last year when usually I'm in Spain for the majority of the year. So last year I traveled a lot, which was so much fun. And I got to be in different places, see different people, see the world. But this year I'm really craving community. And you really have to be rooted somewhere to build those connections. And I just feel like I need that. So also I like having a base and I want to actually travel less this year is kind of what I'm feeling.
I love that view. Yeah, it's definitely very different when you have people in a place that you love and want to hang out with a lot.
Yeah. All right. I definitely want our listeners to hear about what you do. And I had mentioned you're the founder of Digital Nomad Kit, and I mentioned the word virtual assistant. So for those who aren't familiar, what exactly is a virtual assistant and who is this role right for? And I guess also tell us about what Digital Nomad Kit is.
Yeah, sure. So a virtual assistant is somebody who assists a business or an individual with tech, admin, or creative tasks. It could be an overlap. It could be one area of that. The scope is pretty wide. I always say if you assist somebody virtually, it falls under the umbrella. Also, you could call it freelancing. So it's really just about working virtually to help people in their businesses. Digital Nomad Kit started over 10 years ago now. I was a virtual assistant myself. I didn't know I was until one of my clients referred to me as her virtual assistant. And that opened a whole new world for me. I was like, there's a name for what I do. I was just helping people with things online. And I started a Facebook group at the time, sharing what I was doing, sharing the kind of wins I was having, the setbacks I was having, the learning experiences I was going through. And people began to ask how they too could start as a virtual assistant. I had no intention of teaching. I think that's how I've done my whole career. I've just fumbled through life and then nudges just sent me in the right direction. So people are asking me, well, how did you do this? And I'm like, well, would you like to do maybe a free training with me? I wasn't going to charge anybody for this because I didn't know what I was doing at the time. At the end of those 5 days, I did a 5-day free thing. People were getting results. They were getting clients. They were feeling so much more confident, so much clarity around the direction, and figured out pretty quick I had a knack for teaching what I knew. And so Digital Nomad Kit has evolved over the years. We are now one of the most established, most well-known training providers for virtual assistants and freelancers. And we've trained 37,000 people to date. So it's grown a lot.
Incredible. And I'm one of those people, as I mentioned in the intro, back in 2017. I'm not sure how I even found out about you, somewhere virtually, I think in maybe one of the Facebook groups I was in. And at the time, I had been working in an office in Madrid and hated it and really wanted a remote job, but it just seemed like that's something other people, you have to be a web designer. Or that just wasn't for me. But I took your challenge, and that was one of the tools and resources that helped me get my first remote job, which really was, for me, just opened up the world of possibilities of what I could do for work. So I'm forever grateful for taking your challenge. Let's talk about that challenge. You run it a few times a year. It's coming up again, April 21st, 2025. Can you break down what this free challenge, I want to stress the free bit, is about and who is it for?
Yes. So this is the same challenge that I was just talking about that we started over 10 years ago. It's obviously adapted and changed, and it has had so many iterations, especially based on data of how many people we've trained. It is really one of the best places you could go to get started if you're thinking about freelancing or virtual assistant work. So on day one, we talk about your existing skills. A lot of people don't think they have existing skills. Like you said, you think it's something that other people do. It's reserved for other people with different skill sets. But as I said before, there's such a wide scope of what you can offer as a virtual assistant. So on day one, we help you identify what those existing skills are and how you might set them up as a service for particular types of clients you might want to work with. Because that's one of the things as well. You get to choose the types of people you work with. So we start looking at that as well. Day two, we talk about money, because a lot of people have a lot of hangups around how much they can charge, that kind of thing. So we give some benchmarks. We have a nifty little calculator. You can plug in your existing expenses and see what you would need to charge to maintain the lifestyle you have now, but knowing that is not limited to that as well. What else do we cover? We talk about mindset, because a lot of people disregard that. I'll just do the stuff. I'll just hustle really hard and then they burn out. So figuring out a way to do this sustainably. And then there's a couple of sneaky bonuses in there that we don't like to talk about publicly, because it's a challenge for a reason. But those are the things that at the end of the week, some people do manage to get clients from just these free 5 days with zero experience before. So it really is a powerful transformation. You can take an hour a day, 2 hours a day. I recommend setting aside an hour a day at your own time to go through that if it's of interest.
Yeah. So for those who are looking to pivot into the remote world, you don't have to have any specialized skill to do this. Like Hannah said, what I love about your program and why I encourage a lot of my refreshers to take it is because you help people assess what skills they have, like you just mentioned. Like, how can we transfer those to maybe a different role or the same role they're doing remotely, but how do we find those clients? So it's all about, you don't have to start from scratch is really what I want to say here, because I think a lot of people think but I've never done admin work. Yes, you can do that, but you can use your existing skill set if you're working in a different field and find remote work that way too.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm curious to know what kind of success stories have come out of your programs. I know you have trained over 37,000 people, which is incredible. Are there any stories that stick with you?
Yeah, I don't want to name names, but there are a few scenarios that have been ones that stay in my mind. We had one member of our program who was able to leave Ukraine during the war or during the ongoing war. And she has been able to move abroad and make a really good income for herself and her family, which I think is just a really powerful testament to the power of remote work at large. It gives people flexibility to move and utilize different visa options and go to places that suit them better. I've had people leave domestic violence situations. I've had people who are able to travel and support autistic children on the road as digital nomads. We have had people move countries for love, for business, for all kinds of reasons. And I mean, at its core, I think for me, this career and any kind of remote career that is full remote gives people that ability to just find whatever freedom means for them. So those are a few examples, but it could mean as simple as I want to move to Budapest and I can now. So I just think it's such a powerful tool, and it's such a potent tool for social change as well.
Definitely. I mean, it gives you that autonomy that you just don't get when you're working in an office 9 to 5. And I guess my next question would be why do you think virtual assistants is such a great gateway into the remote world? Because some people are just fixed on okay, I have to leave my current 9 to 5 and find a remote job, like the same thing I'm doing and get hired at a company remotely. What do you think the benefit of becoming a virtual assistant is versus being an employee?
Yeah, I think everything I just said before, the complete flexibility to be and go where you want to be. But then I also think it's the choice to work with people you want to work with, to upskill. I always say the more you learn, the more you can earn in this career. So there's, I wouldn't say uncapped income potential, but pretty high income potential. If you take it very seriously, you can diversify your income stream. That's a really big one. So you don't just have to have one client. I always recommend 4 or 5 clients or retainers. If you lose one client, you still have a healthy income versus losing a job, you lose your entire income. But I also think just on a completely different sort of tangent here, I also think it's one of those careers that allows you to realize your potential in so many more ways than one, more than just professionally. You have to step into a leadership role. You have to step into being a business owner. That requires so much inner work that is beneficial to your personal life as well. So for me, it's a really transformational kind of career. And one of the reasons I think it's a great entry point is because, as we talked about before, I don't have a degree. I'd never touched a laptop in my life before I started this. You learn as you go and you figure out what you do and you don't like, and you can make it better and better and more. So I think it's just a really good entry point, no matter where you are and what kind of skill set you have already.
I love that. And I love that you say that, like you did not get a degree and you've had so much success. And I think sometimes people think when they have to pivot, they have to go back to school and they have to invest all this money to learn skills. And actually, you can teach yourself a lot of things. And as we've already mentioned, you can use your existing skills to find work as a virtual assistant. Are there any other misconceptions that people have about freelancing or becoming a VA that we haven't mentioned?
Just to circle back again, I really think this misconception of safety and security, that a job is somehow more safe and secure. I think if you are intentional about how you set up a freelance or VA business, as I said, with retainer type clients, diversifying your income streams or the way that you make money, you can offer consulting as you get good at things. You're really well positioned to do affiliate marketing, creating products out of the knowledge that you gain in the role that you have, and having multiple clients puts you in a very safe position. And I would argue in these times, probably safer than a lot of jobs.
That's such a great point. So you have trained thousands of people. What would you say are some of the traits or habits of the most successful freelancers or virtual assistants that you've worked with?
I think probably the number one thing is wanting to actually be of service and to help people and be in a support position. A lot of people come into this thinking they want to do this and then it's not for them. They want to be the face of a business and that's great for them and they realize that. But I think being someone who naturally wants to be of service and be part of something bigger than themselves is probably one of the biggest traits for people who are successful. I'd say another one is people who have the ability to anticipate needs. I always say that's a differentiator between like a good VA and a really great VA. You can have a good VA who does what they're told to do, and a great VA kind of acts as more of a strategic partner, can foresee what might happen based on results in the past and can kind of prepare for things. So for example, when I show up for a webinar, one of my VAs is always like, I've checked your slides. Do you want to go through this? I know you've got this today. I've got the link ready for you to drop in the comments. Like just being proactive and anticipating needs. I really think that separates, like I said, the good VAs from the really great VAs. Those are probably two of the main ones. And then being someone who actually enjoys learning new things. You're working with technology. It's changing all the time. I think one of the big shifts in the VA space in the last couple of years has been AI. Those who have embraced AI are well ahead of those who are like, I don't want to touch it. So I think it's being willing to embrace new technology and being excited about that as well.
Yes, that is such a great point about being a VA who's anticipating things, proactive. I recently hired a community manager for the Refreshers Lounge. And she's amazing because, yeah, she can see things before I do, or she flags things for me that I maybe would have missed. And I can't tell you how valuable that is and how important that is to be able to support someone, because then you can charge what you're worth, right? Because I'm happy to pay her what she's worth because she's making my life easier, right? And I know that pay is so important to you in the work that you do in terms of having ethical pay. So I want to ask a little bit about that for people who are maybe curious about, what can a VA charge or how much money can I make?
Yeah, I mean, sky's the limit. As I mentioned before, I would say that if you're coming into this with some of the sort of like more entry-level skills, like maybe some inbox management, some sort of baseline admin type work, anywhere from $15 to $25 an hour is appropriate. And it's going to be some that fall either side of that. It depends on multiple factors, but to give some benchmarks, I'd say intermediate skills, maybe some light graphic design, maybe some light WordPress backend plugin updates, that kind of thing, or community management, that kind of thing. That can be from 20 to 35, 40 even. And then you've got advanced skills, which $50 plus is really, you're looking at that. I've got people in my community. I'll give an example, actually. There was a girl who came through my program a few years ago. She started at $16 an hour managing a Facebook group. She had never done any VA work before, but she was in a lot of groups. She understood how they work. So she did that. She decided to go all in on making her expertise around Facebook and now consults on Facebook ads at $350 an hour. So the sky's the limit when you choose to hire in on the things that you start realizing you enjoy. And I really think that's just such a great example of someone who just has thrived on just utilizing Facebook as a platform. That her niche is Facebook. I can help you with everything Facebook.
That's great. And I have to say, in my business, as She Hit Refresh has grown, I have worked with so many niche experts. Like right now, I'm working with a ManyChat expert. For those who are familiar with ManyChat, it's like an automation for Instagram. And that's all she does, help people set up their ManyChat flows. And I'm like, yes, take my money, help me figure this out, make it easier. And I'm so like in awe that you can have a whole business just around something so niche. So yeah, very cool. Very cool. Well, how about you tell us, because we've talked about the challenge, but I know you also offer the Virtual Excellence.
The Virtual Excellence Academy is our paid program. It's much more comprehensive. It's an ongoing, kind of see it as like a resource library that people can come back to over the years. So it's a full-blown course, A to Z, fully comprehensive program to learn how to be a VA or freelancer, everything you might need to know. We update that regularly. That's why I call it a resource library. Like if there's new tools, they're covered. We have guest experts every month in the community. One of the things we really pride ourselves on is that, yes, it's a program and it's a community. The community is just as important, and it's something we don't charge for. So there's no charge. We have people who have been in there 8 years who are still using it and taking benefit from it. We have exclusive job opportunities in there. So it's just a more comprehensive, ongoing experience for VAs to thrive over the years.
I didn't join the Virtual Excellence Academy, but I've had a lot of refreshers who have, and I've heard raving reviews. And many of those are working as virtual assistants now, thanks to your program. All right. So you didn't stop there. You are just like constantly creating things, and you recently created Rainbow Remote. So can you tell us about this space and what inspired you to create it?
Sure. Rainbow Remote is a community and possibly conference, let's see, for LGBTQ plus remote professionals globally to connect, collaborate, job share, and lift one another up. For me, I just felt like there was a gap in the market for this. I felt that while there's a lot of talk about inclusivity, sometimes it felt like it was more of a token seat at the table and then nobody talks to you at the table sort of thing. So creating a space for us to talk about the things that impact our communities specifically in a way that with people who actually understand those issues and lift each other up. And also for me, I was finding that a lot of events, that's why I said maybe a conference down the line, a lot of events, well, yes, they make platforms and queer professionals. I do feel like there's still a lot of DEI missing, and that's something that's becoming more of a problem now. So I think that there's power in numbers. And for me, Rainbow Remote was a way for us to elevate one another and help each other find more opportunities to reach out and make those other events better as well and platform people from the LGBTQ plus community.
I love that. Well, what are some of the challenges that the LGBTQIA plus community or just underrepresented people face in the remote workspace in general, in your opinion?
I mean, I think it's the same issues we've faced in the non-remote workspace. It's the same issues. It's just now it's over Zoom. So I think a lot of erasure of identities, people not being respected for who they are, or even, people with neurodiverse brains like myself, just a misunderstanding about abilities and disabilities and how to work best with people. And I think that it impacts not only the individuals, but it also impacts the organizations negatively too. When you create a culture where people can be who they are and can operate at their best, it ultimately benefits the company. If people are forced into working in ways that doesn't operate well with their brain, then they're not going to be the most productive. If they're not happy at work, they don't feel respected, they don't feel that they belong, they don't feel like they can be themselves, they're going to be inhibited, they're not going to be as creative. So it benefits the companies as well. But I think that Rainbow Remote, I really would like to use that platform to, specifically I think in the remote work world, is to make the events a little safer, make people feel like they really do belong in that space. And then hopefully that will trickle into actual remote work opportunities, which is another reason I love freelancing, because you get to just be whoever the hell you are and attract the people that celebrate who you are as well.
Definitely. Well, where can people go to learn more about Rainbow Remote and what you're up to there?
RainbowRemote.com.
Easy peasy. And with the challenge, I forgot to mention the link. If y'all go to the She Hit Refresh website, we have information there. So it's just shehitrefresh.com/VA challenge. And you can sign up for the next one that's just coming up April 21st. You've been a business owner for a long time now, and you've really built this business that serves your lifestyle, really allows you to live life on your terms. So what keeps you motivated to keep going? Because I feel like, I don't know, with businesses, we're creative, we're doing the same things for a while. Like, what keeps you motivated to continue with your business? And maybe, I don't know, I feel like you keep reinventing yourselves in some ways. Like now you have Rainbow Remote, which is your new baby.
I have another baby in the making too.
Oh my God. So, okay.
The in-person business though, I'm going to say it here for the first time. I want to open a speakeasy cinema in Brooklyn. Random, very random.
I'm going to say you heard it here first. Exclusive.
Nobody steal that idea. I just am someone who has a lot of ideas. And for me, having a business means that I can play with those ideas. I can be creative within the business. So while there are some structures that for me maybe start to feel like a bit of a bore, like some of the admin, I hire a virtual assistant who loves doing that. So I think also expanding my team to do some of the stuff that maybe I'm getting a little tired of, and then meaning that I can still be creative within the bounds of this business is really exciting, keeps me motivated. And then I could do spin-off things like Rainbow Remote. I can go to New York and do this thing because I've got money from this business to do this. So I'm just someone who has a lot of ideas, and maybe that's just my personality, that it's really hard for me to get bored. It's easy for me to get burned out. It's hard for me to get bored. So just taking that downtime, knowing that I need it. And when I come back, that creativity can be channeled in new ways in the business. And I think that's one of the beauties of being self-employed, full stop, is that you can continually evolve and switch things up.
Yeah. And I feel like you share a lot in your newsletter about what's going on behind the scenes, about your life as a business owner. Where can people sign up to your newsletter? Because I think it'd be really interesting for people to not only follow your business, but also, how you're running your business.
Thanks. I appreciate that. It's digitalnomadkit.com/newsletter.
Got it. We'll add all the links to the show notes there. Just in terms of success, because you are definitely a success story. You've changed a lot, I'm sure, from taking up the odd jobs a long time ago. What mindset shifts have you had to make to become the successful person that you are now?
I think believing that I deserved it. I think a lot of people think that they don't deserve that, or that money's evil in some way, or, it's reserved for people who already had money or something like that. So I think working on a lot of those blockages, I've done all kinds of therapy around that, read all the books, all the podcasts. So I think a lot of money blocks were some of the big ones. And then I think some of it, honestly, is just self-confidence. Like one of the things I always do is if it scares me, but I know it won't kill me, I try to do it. So I really don't like speaking, as you know, because we were in Portugal last year and I had to talk there and I was terrified. But every time I get invited, I'm like, this is an opportunity for me to face the fear. It might not be the best, but it helps me get a little bit more comfortable with this. So I think I'm just one of those people that has continuously tried to face fears head on. But that's come with practice. It means doing it regularly. If I take a lapse and I don't do anything that scares me for a while, it's really hard to get back on the horse. So I try to do something that scares me regularly.
Love that. She's afraid of public speaking, but she's not afraid of karaoke. I'll tell you that, people. We had some fun singing in Albufeira, Portugal, a few months ago. What advice would you give to someone listening who just feels stuck, feels afraid, who's like, I need to find a remote job, like I want to move abroad and this is my biggest blocker, but I don't know what to do? What advice would you give to them?
Number one, set that all aside for a minute and take a deep breath. I want you to recognize that there are so many different paths and opportunities that you don't see yet, that you aren't thinking about. And in order to see them, you need to give yourself a little bit of breathing room and headspace. So if you're feeling that overwhelmed, take a moment to take some downtime. Secondly, I would say join the challenge. I don't just say that because I'm biased and I think it's awesome, but I do genuinely think that it's a really good kickstart if you're feeling in a stuck place. Whether you decide to do freelancing or not, I think it just gives a lot of clarity around what you might want to do instead. So one of the reasons that I love offering this free challenge is because it does help people out of a stuck position. So I would recommend joining that. I would recommend watching YouTube videos, looking at how other people are doing what you want to do, and just seeing what kind of clicks and vibes for you. But I think it does mean taking that downtime and then doing something proactive, learning something new, putting it into action, giving yourself the opportunity to try new things, emphasize.
Love it. All right, y'all. Well, you have nothing to lose. Highly recommend joining the free 5-day VA challenge. Go to shehitrefresh.com/VA challenge. We'll have all the links that Hannah shared in the show notes. And Hannah, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you again.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and leave feeling like a move abroad is even more possible for you. If you're happy with what you saw, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and leave a question or comment because I would love to hear from you. If you're ready to take action on your dream to move abroad, be sure to grab my visa guide to Europe. It's your roadmap to over 50 viable visa options in 19 countries. You can grab the link below in the show notes. And don't forget to get on the wait list for my next Move Abroad After 30 Masterclass, a masterclass for women age 30 and up, which is a step-by-step training to help you fast track your move abroad. And grab the link in the show notes as well. And last but not least, a huge shout out to our sponsor, International Living. Thank you so much for making this season possible. Until next time, ciao for now.